Every day, something dramatic happens in the Caribbean that affects our lives. We'll give you the details. We'll give you the facts on Caribbean Perspective with Eddie Frederick. Host Eddie Frederick.
So glad you can join us. Trinidad and Tobago's opposition leader tells the Prime Minister to go to hell. This story takes the lead in a 1106th edition of Caribbean Perspective for Thursday, 6th May 2021. Details after this break.
Hubbard's big promotion is back. Live free for 1 year. Spend $50 or more in any Hubbard's department and receive a chance to win big prizes every month. Property or vehicle insurance for 1 year. Free internet, cable and data for 1 year. Free fuel for 1 year. Free cooking gas for 1 year. Free electricity for 1 year. Free drinks for 1 year. Extra cash account and the big free groceries for 1 year. Promotion runs from April 1st to September 30th, 2021. Live free for 1 year with Hubbard's in association with Solgas, Flow, Grenadian General Insurance, Carib Brewery, Coca-Cola, Grenada Bottling Company, Grenlec, Communal Cooperative Credit Union, Dutch Lady Milk, Promo, Danny and Supreme. Terms and conditions apply.
Welcome back. Opposition leader of Trinidad and Tobago, Kamla Bisses, responds to the Prime Minister's remarks linking the UNC's members to whorehouses in South Trinidad. She has accused him of befriending the owner of an establishment where illegal migrants were found. Urvashitawari Rupnarayan of TV6 News has more.
Opposition leader Kamla Bisses has this message for the Prime Minister.
Shameless, not shame, shameless. Your Attorney General fraternizing, and you want to talk about the opposition, UNC? Man, go to hell.
Last Thursday, the Prime Minister said he didn't want to hear from the opposition about border protection, as according to him, the opposition is behind half of the brothels responsible for bringing such workers into TNT.
I totally deny that the opposition has anything to do with anybody bringing in illegal venues into country.
At a UNC virtual meeting last evening, she turned the table on the Prime Minister, producing a picture taken after a political rally in 2015.
Do you know who is this person you're sitting next to? Do you know who is this person you're sitting next to? I think some people say they call him Bullet. I don't know if that's true. They say his name is Bullet. I am also told that he is the owner of Copa Cabana, is that the name of it? Which was raided by the police and they found 21 women when he's there. That fella looking like he's UNC. You say UNC bringing in, who is he? That's your friend.
She also presented photos of the AG pictured alongside the same man.
Prime Minister, I call upon you, if that is so, get your police to do its work. Get the TTPS to find these people you say bringing in illegals and charge them.
Mrs. Bisses says the Prime Minister's wild statements are geared to distracting the public from the government's incompetence at managing the country's borders. Urvashitawari Rupnarayan, TV6 News.
The police commissioner, meantime, is talking tough to judicial officers. The top cop says the courts are giving too much liberty to Venezuelans who enter Trinidad and Tobago illegally. Anselm Gibbs of TV6 News reports.
Police Commissioner Gary Griffith says judicial officers are being too lenient with Venezuelans who enter Trinidad and Tobago illegally. In a statement on Tuesday, the top cop accused judicial officers of setting a dangerous precedent. The statement mentioned a recent court decision, the commissioner said, where individuals would have usually received a fine or imprisonment. 24 people were simply reprimanded and discharged. Griffith said judicial officers are affording too much liberty to illegal Venezuelan entrants who permeate TNT's borders without any form of redress for their misdeeds, and who the commissioner said are likely to be bringing the COVID-19 virus to TNT. According to Griffith, there appears to be no deterrent factor coming from the judicial system. And the top cop said this can be tantamount to creating an open invitation for non-nationals to come to TNT illegally without fear of fine, imprisonment, or repatriation. Griffith said it's distressing that in the time of a pandemic, where the country's resources are limited, that every integral part of TNT's immunity is not working in harmony for the protection of its people. Anselm Gibbs, TV6 News.
The Supermarkets Association in Trinidad and Tobago is pleading with members of the public to not only adhere to the COVID-19 measures, but to respect the direction of grocery staff. The association president was among business guests on TV6's Morning Edition program. Renessa Cutting reports.
Supermarket workers have a lot more to contend with than just grocery shelves these days, as pandemic-fatigued members of the public have started taking out their frustration on grocery staff.
In some cases, my staff members have reported abuse by the public, and it's a very, very loaded situation. Sometimes it's better to not say anything to a customer who will rant and rave and perhaps get violent with you or want to take some kind of action against you. So it's really a case of managing personal situations and peculiar situations where circumstances arise in the interest of the overall operation.
The Supermarkets Association is now forced to ask members of the public to not just follow the COVID guidelines as set out, but also to have some maturity and understanding.
People in this country need to understand the restrictions that are in place. Let's follow them very strictly for the next 2 weeks, 3 weeks, whatever it is, and let's see the light at the end of the tunnel that we could exit this pain and suffering that the Prime Minister has referenced. If he says that this is the bitter medicine we need to take now to get out of this, then let's swallow the pill and let's move on.
Meanwhile, the president of the Greater Tunapuna Chamber of Industry and Commerce says some members have been forced out of business by the ongoing restrictions. In addition, she says the rotational system in the public sector is taking a further toll on the private sector's diminishing revenue.
The Tunapuna district office, it's supposed to close at 12 o'clock. They went on Friday to make their payment for the tax, and they arrived at 10:15, and and they were closed. They were not allowing anybody else to go inside. And then lo and behold, on Monday, they would arrive, they reached early, and they were charged penalty and interest.
The Tobago Business Chamber also weighed in on government's latest measures. Its president, Martin George, says government's entire approach to the situation has been reactive.
It's still that 1940 regulation that the government is relying on from that public health ordinance. And I thought that they could have been a bit more proactive and creative. So I thought that it was something that in the circumstances, maybe, an act of parliament ought to have been implemented rather than you simply go in with the public health ordinance, and the broad but yet still unspecified powers of entry into private premises which are contained therein.
Renessa Cutting, TV6 News.
You're listening to Caribbean Perspective with Eddie Frederick.
During a walkabout at the border and La Penitence markets in Georgetown on Monday, Leader of the Opposition Joseph Harmon accused the government of Guyana of distributing $25 million in relief to at least 50 big businesses in the capital while failing to cater to small enterprises. More from HGP's Wendell Badri.
The leader of the opposition, Joseph Harmon, during his visit to the border and La Penitence markets, spoke with several vendors concerning the rise in prices of basic commodities, where the allegations about the $25 million subsidy to those businesses, numbering 50 roughly, were made.
I understand there were some projects in which they gave several businesses, maybe 50 of them or so, $25 million COVID grant.
Harmon called on the government to also offer relief to the vendors in the markets and the small businesses alike.
These people need help. They need help. The vendors in the market, the small businesses, it's not only big business that run this country, not only the big supermarkets, the big mining companies and all of that. So these are the people that need the help.
A market vendor who remains unidentified lamented that as retailers, they have little to no control over the price of commodities. She, however, posited that she is empathetic towards consumers' concerns, and so she does her utmost to help those affected.
We're the first person that are being attacked because the consumer, they cannot get to the upper person. And at their level, they're not thinking, well, if the prices are increasing from above. So what happened is, and I can understand their frustration because for us, we're frustrated as well.
The vendor pointed out that products which are grown and manufactured right here in the country have increased, using as examples sugar, which she said was retailed at $80 per pound in December, but is now being sold at $100 per pound. A 22-kilogram bag of rice, she highlighted, was $1,400 in December and has now increased to $1,500. A 500-gram pack of Natura milk, the vendor says, which was previously sold at $440 a pack, is now $500 and is expected to further increase to about $525 in the new week. During a press conference on Wednesday last, His Excellency Dr. Irfan Ali told media operatives that the country is indeed experiencing inflation, and this is largely due to the fact that many companies around the world are still operating with minimal staff resources, which has resulted in the prices for many commodities increasing.
So what we have done by adjusting on the tax side, adjusting on the VAT side, is our local response to cushion and minimize the effect of what is happening globally.
During the 2021 budget presentation in the National Assembly, the Minister with responsibility for finance, Dr. Ashni Singh, announced the removal of VAT on a number of commodities. Meanwhile, the prices for a number of locally produced commodities, including meats and vegetables, continue to rise. Wendell Badry, HGP Nightly News.
St. Lucia's Prime Minister Alan Shaston is making the case for the extension of the state of emergency, the SOE. In an interview with the media on Tuesday before debate in the House under motion, the government leader said the SOE gives legal authority to impose the curfew, which is vital to the COVID-19 pandemic response. Solange Alfred of HTS News Force has more.
Prime Minister Alan Shaston has defended the move to extend the COVID-19 related state of emergency by 5 months. The news has caused uproar in some circles, especially with an election imminent. During a media scrum on the steps of Parliament on Tuesday, ahead of debate on the motion in the House of Assembly, he argued the SOE would facilitate the implementation of curfew times.
As we've indicated very frequently, the state of emergency is required to be the legislative tool to allow us to implement a curfew system. All of the other protocols that we're implementing are under the COVID Act. So let me repeat myself again, that the SOE, the state of emergency, is only being used to regulate the curfew times. And so without the state of emergency, we would not be in a position to implement the curfew times. And as you've seen, the curfew times along with the economic activity are the two things that we use to try to keep the COVID under control. And so far we've been doing a relatively good job. And I think that most people would agree that the 9 o'clock curfew has been working out relatively well. It's not ideal for some of the restaurants and bars, but in terms of keeping the cases under control and still allowing the economy to turn over and for people to at least keep their businesses open, it has been ideal in that case.
The Prime Minister told the press that the curfew is decided by the Office of the Chief Medical Officer, who advises the command center.
Did you know that your friends and family can now shop at the Food Fair from anywhere in the world, and you can receive here in Grenada? The Food Fair and GrenadaMarket.com now make it possible through secure online shopping and personalized customer service. Simply send your loved ones a list of your preferred items or let them fill an online basket, and the items will be available for pickup or delivery. Visit GrenadaMarket.com or thefoodfair.gd today for more details. The new norm. Spread the news.
Hi am Eddie Frederick. This has been Caribbean Perspective, a whole new approach to highlighting developments in the Caribbean. In the meantime, please continue to log on to CaribbeanPerspective.com for more daily news and more.